Okay, so Assalamualaikum and good day. Today I am going to be presenting about my 2 week experience in SMK Ceneh Baru. Before I go further into the presentation, my name is Ahmad Amir Fikri bin Muhammad Yusuf Elias Arifin. My metric number is 195891 and my supervisor is Dr. Arshad bin Abdul Samad. So without further ado, I am going to be starting the presentation. And this is the school background. I'm going to start with the school background, and as for the school background, I'm going to touch about 4 main aspects of it, which are the history of SMK Ceneh Baru, the mission and vision of the school location, as well as the infrastructure of the school. Okay, so for the history, Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Ceneh Baru, or CBES, which stands for Ceneh Best Excellent School of Terengganu, is a secondary school located in the district of Kemaman, Terengganu. And this school started operating on the 2nd of January 1983 by only accepting around 60 students and only 8 teachers. The first principal that was of service was Mr. Karim Elias Kasim bin Hassan, and this school generally accepted students from the primary schools near this school, which are SK Ceneh Baru, SK Ceneh Baru 2, SK Fildaneram, and SK Air Putih. And since the operation of the school, there have been around 17 principals who served this school. And now we're going to talk about the mission and vision of SMK Ceneh Baru. As for the mission, Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan Ceneh Baru being the excellent school of Terengganu in academics, co-curriculum, and also personality. And the vision, Sekolah Kebangsaan Ceneh Baru being in an ongoing process of improving the efficiency and competency of school organization to achieve success. So the students, the teachers, and the staff of SMK Ceneh Baru work extremely very hard in order to achieve the success, and in everything that they do, they always hold on to the principle of the school, which is with knowledge we serve. And now, this is the location of SMK Ceneh Baru. SMK Ceneh Baru, like I said before in the previous slides, is located in the Kemaman district at Bandar Ceneh Baru. So this is the map of Kemaman district, and you cannot actually see it here, but Bandar Ceneh Baru is located in Banggol, and Banggol is already very close, very near to Kuantan. And since the location of Bandar Ceneh Baru being so close to Kuantan, many people from this town would travel to Kuantan very often. And the teachers and the staff from SMK Ceneh Baru also come from different places like Kuantan or Chukai here, you can see here Chukai, or even Kijal here. Moving on, I am going now to talk about the infrastructure of SMK Ceneh Baru. So for the first picture, if you can see here, the first picture here is the main hall of SMK Ceneh Baru. So this is where students are gathered for weekly assembly and for other ceremonial events like the retirement of a teacher or the celebration of Teachers' Day. And here is the multi-purpose hall. This is where the students are given the liberty to use this hall for any productive activities. So while I was there, this hall was used to hold practice of chorus speaking or dances for dancing competition. And this is a mosque. This is where students and teachers perform their Zuhur prayer every day. And before the school starts with the teaching and learning process, the teacher and all teachers and all students are required to gather in the mosque to read Quran. And here is the computer lab. This is where teachers are allowed to conduct classes in the computer lab for better environment, especially for teachers who incorporate technology in their teaching process. And here is the library. The library is equipped with many books from different authors and publications, and many teachers would like to use the library to have their classes as well. And this is the sewing room where normally female students go to have their life skills class. Now I'm going to talk about the observation and the classroom activities, and for this point I'm going to touch on 2 main aspects, which are the strengths and weaknesses of teaching and learning activities that were held, and also the teaching aids and materials that were used in the classroom. As for the strengths and weaknesses of teaching and learning activities, while I was there, my guidance teachers has been able to come up with four main activities that were conducted, which are poem recital, poem analysis, impromptu speech, and also the sketch from the short story that the students have to study. So now I'm going to talk about each one of this activity. As for the first activity, which is poem recital, the strength is students will be able to know the correct pronunciation. Since the poem that was taught is A Poison Tree by William Blake, and the poem is set in a very medieval time, some of the words were very unfamiliar for the students, and this is very helpful for the students to know which way is the correct way to pronounce certain words. And the weakness is it can be time consuming, since every single one of the students have to stand up and recite the poem. It can actually consume time that it was supposed to be spent on analyzing and understanding the poem. The next point is poem analysis. Students are able to generate own ideas. Since my guidance teacher gave the students the platform for them to crack the poem on their own, it will it will enhance their critical thinking skills. But the downside of it, on the other hand, is that students might get sidetracked from the actual message. As much as it is important for teachers to give students a space to generate their own ideas, the guidance from the teacher is still needed. And the third activity is impromptu speech. This is where the students will be trained to deliver speeches on short notice. This is especially helpful for students to boost or to enhance their public speaking skills. However, students might also develop anxiety, and this activity can be time consuming because there will always be students who are not very good at delivering speeches, who are naturally anxious, and their inability to do so will consume too much time. And now the last one, the sketch from the short story. And for the strength and benefit of this activity, students will experience the events firsthand, because the students will be grouped into several groups and they will have to reenact some of the events that are on the short story. So they will develop a better understanding on this story. And the weakness is the students might get distracted, because since this is a fun air quote fun activity, students might have too much fun and they might get distracted of the actual message or point of this activity, which is to learn. Okay, now we're going to move to the teaching aids and materials that were used in a classroom. For the first teaching aid materials, we have cards with random words. These students are given with cards with random words, and they will have to use these cards and the words on it to deliver an impromptu speech. For example, if the card says family, so the students will spend approximately around 5 minutes to talk about family in front of the class. And the second one is Bluetooth speakers. This is where students are made to listen to audio of the poem recital so that they listen to the accurate pronunciation. This was when the teacher brought an audio speaker, a Bluetooth speaker in the classroom, and she played A Poison Tree by William Blake, and the students were listening very attentively so that they didn't make the same mistake. And the third is poem written in a big painting. So this is actually what I feel very, very interesting, because my guidance teacher painted a very large tree onto a mahjong paper, and she wrote every single word of the poem onto the painting, so to attract the attention or interest of the students, especially for students who are visual learners. And now I am going to do some reflection on the school culture and the work culture. For this, I'm going to touch on four main aspects, which are co-curricular activities, the importance of co-curricular activities, the strengths and weaknesses of work culture, as well as the importance of school culture. As for co-curricular activities that were held in SMK Ceneh Baru, there are three main ones. The first one is 1M1S. So 1M1S, or Satu Murid Satu Sukan, is a weekly program conducted by all schools in Malaysia to encourage students to take part in sport activities. And the second one is academic clubs and societies. Every Tuesday, students will have to stay at school until 4:30 p.m. to participate in the academic clubs and societies. So while I was there, I was in charge of the English societies and club. And for the last one, it is a uniform body association. Every Wednesday, students will have to stay at school until 4:30 p.m. to participate in their uniform body association. So while I was there, I was in charge of the Red Crescent Association. And now here are the importance of co-curricular activities in school. The first one is students will have better physical and mental health. It goes without saying that people who are active is more healthy than people and students who are less active. So if students are very active participating in the co-curricular activities, it will lead to them developing a better sense of health. And second is students will experience the development of social skills. And I can see that there were some students who are genuinely socially awkward, and there was some students who were very very active and extroverted. So by joining co-curricular activities in school, the students will have no choice but to interact with other people, and this will eventually help them to develop their social skills as well. Number three is students will be exposed to a huge range of new activities. Some students didn't know when they started, they didn't know that they have the talent in some activities or some sport activities. For example, there were some students during my time. They didn't know that they were very talented in playing basketball until they actually joined 1M1S, and they discovered that they actually have a talent in playing basketball. And the last one is students will be able to generate sense of commitment and responsibility, especially for students who were appointed as the president of certain clubs or societies. They will definitely develop some sense of leadership, and this will be very beneficial for them after high school when they go into college and university. And now I am going to touch on the strengths and weaknesses of co-curricular activities. The first one is self-exploration. We're going to look at the strengths first. The first one is self-exploration. Like I said before, some students did know that they are talented in certain areas until they actually tried. So this is practically the same case there. Second one is it enhances the ability to commit. Since students are required to stay back until 4:30 or 5 around 5, this will help them to commit to their responsibilities. The next one is personal growth and development. By joining co-curricular activities, we can actually see the character development of certain students because they have to deal with many people. So this will eventually help them to develop their own personal growth. And the last one is so students will be socially inclined. This is just like what I said in the previous slide, because students will have no choice but to socialize with people when they join co-curricular activities, and this will eventually help them to develop and enhances their social skills. And now for the weaknesses of co-curricular activities, we can say that some students might be in an unconscious denial of priorities, because some students might get too invested in joining co-curricular activities that they often get distracted of the real purpose of them being in school, which is to study. And the second one is too many schedules in short time. Some co-curricular activities can be too overwhelming, and the students might get tired from the morning classes already. And the third one is extra expenses from the school. And if the school wants to wants to throw some co-curricular events, for example, they will have to spend more money on that. And the last one is tiredness and frustration. Okay, especially for students who are in their examination year, like Form 3 and Form 5, they will definitely be very, very tired from the extra classes and night classes, tuition as well. And if they have to join co-curricular activities, they will lead to them being very tired and frustrated. And now, as for the conclusion, I am going to talk about two main aspects, which are the suggestion for improvement and the summary of my time in SMK Ceneh Baru. As for the suggestion for improvement, I think that teachers especially should set an exemplary behavior for students to look up to. And excessive noise by my teachers will leave a bad impression. I was talking this based on my experience because when I was in the school, I had my fair share of bad experience. While I was doing my job, some teachers, I mean not all, but some teachers were being extremely loud, and I can see how that distracted some other teachers who genuinely wanted to do their job. So I think that teachers should definitely set an exemplary behavior for students. Second is students should not be allowed to roam around the school compound when their class teacher is not around, or even during free periods. So this is where the students take their chances to skip classes. So I think that students should not be allowed to roam around at all, and they should always stay in the classroom even when the teacher is not in the classroom. Now, as for the summary of my time in SMK Ceneh Baru, I feel like this program brings many benefits for future educators. Early school experience or PULSE, I think this program brings many benefits for future educators, especially us, especially for me who are very interested in being teachers. And the environment at the school that I went to, which was SMK Ceneh Baru, was very welcoming, and the teachers and the staff were very friendly as well. So I think that it somehow elevated my interest in becoming a teacher. And PULSE also is a program that gives exposure and experience to help future teachers to get accustomed to the school environment. Like I said before, for future teachers and for students who are like me, who are very interested in becoming one, I think this program is very, very helpful because it helps me to familiarize myself with the environment of the school and the work culture and the school culture as well. And it also encourages future teachers to pursue their career as an educator. I can say this because I can see how some of my friends who were not initially interested in becoming a teacher, but when they joined this activity, this program, they suddenly develop some sort of like interest in becoming a teacher. And the last one is the program has opened my eyes to the endless possibilities of the teaching world. Definitely, I agree to this because back before this, I wasn't very aware. I had very little, almost zero knowledge on the teaching world. And after I joined this program, it actually opened my eyes of the possibilities that were endless in the teaching world. Okay, and so with that, my presentation is done. Thank you so much for listening.